It's another beautiful Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have my lovely co-host, and we have a guest co-host in the building.
Hello.
Yemi Adamoleko, how you doing? You just
good.
disappeared. You freed your view for a long time.
Things happen, but I'm glad to be back.
I know you're the civil society things. You're fighting at the forefront of the fight. You know, all these solidarity singers. I'm just joking. But how has it been? How has it been? What have you been doing?
It's election season, so our work
Yeah.
takes on a new dimension
That's
when
true.
people get interested in governance during election season. So I'm excited because
Yeah.
at least you get more people asking questions, more people wanting to be engaged. So it's
I
good.
mean, I know you're not our guest, but what's your view on the fact that everybody and their grandmother is running for office? Like, what's your view that now? I mean, we're excited, but in your view, everybody's running for office. I mean, does that make you happy, or do you feel like, oh, they get a lot of chaff?
It's good. I mean, at least everybody now is an aspirant. So it's good. We can have, I don't know, 300 for all it matters. But I think the process that'll be exciting is how do parties, what demands citizens are placing on parties to have candidates that they want to vote for. Because ultimately on election day, they've selected. But it's in citizens, I mean, everybody's talking about get your PVC. But in getting the PVC, citizens should also be telling political parties that we have gotten this PVC, but to vote, we need candidates that fit certain criteria, have capacity, are competent. So it's exciting.
Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Nima, how was your weekend?
Hey, what a weekend. Well, I'm grateful to God for life. I'm grateful to God for all the blessings around me, especially those children that, make you just want to run out of the house.
I can imagine.
I thank God. It was a restful one. We thank God.
Yeah. How you doing? How was your weekend?
Amazing. My weekend was good. I was just basically cooking and baking this weekend. Well, 2 weeks ago, I started a book club because I noticed that young people no longer read. Everybody's want to hammer, want to watch TV series and all of that. So the book club was just to encourage people to read. And in that group, at least a book a month. There are some of us who do a book a week.
Right.
So whatever your pace is, we're good. So people have been joining the group and I'm excited about it.
That's nice. Cool.
How you doing?
I'm great. One of our producers, Dolapo Maradesa, had a naming ceremony of his
I missed it
baby
on
girl on Saturday. I wanted to be there, but I had to also be at a family, an in-law passed on, so we had to bury him on Saturday. It was good. It was good to hang out with family and all that. So it was a nice, restful
Cool.
weekend.
What about the rains?
Oh my goodness, the weather was beautiful.
Hey.
I was looking for peppers. Yeah, the cool weather. The fact that I was sick. I was
But
sick.
you were home.
Under the duvet.
That's why you were doing it.
Well, I was home and church, but but it was really, the rain was just.
You don't want to be on the road.
Road.
John.
That's
telling
what I
I
was
was
asking
on
if she
the
was
road in
home.
the evening on Saturday and I was almost crying. I didn't drive because I had predicted it would be, it was terrible.
Really?
I had to jump out of the
I
bus.
love the weather.
It was flooded.
I was looking for fresh fish to make pepper soup. I didn't find. All the women did not
Who will
partake.
sell for you?
They did not partake because
in the rain.
in the rain, right? So I was really looking for fresh fish. Anyway, let's. Nothing else happened. Oh, you guys, something hot happened.
We are in the thanking God mood though, after what happened on Thursday.
Okay, that's true.
So we are seriously thanking
Everybody in
God.
church had a testimony about, I just 5 minutes past that place at the Dollar Bridge. I was almost there at the Dollar Bridge. And I'm like,
Did you hear my
every
story?
testimony today in church on Sunday was
How
about
they
the
missed it.
I
They
thank
have to
God.
thank God.
Usually I have no
God.
business on that road, but I had to go to Mowe that day.
My brother-in-law actually
Your testimony is very
passed
similar
that
to a lot of
day.
It's the
testimonies.
same testimony. Yes.
Well,
I mean, I'm
thank
thanking God.
Unfortunately, 9 lives were lost. As much as we're not, one life too many.
Yes.
We won't say, because we expected much more
Wasn't
than,
me,
but please, we thank God at least that the Lagos State government is rising up to the responsibilities of doing something
We'll
about
take it in the papers.
We'll take it in the papers, yeah. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with the Punch. Killings without state police will risk more attacks, says Ikwerimadu. 6 more suspects arrested for Plateau massacre. Picture here of the IDPs in Plateau State trying to get some food and materials. Lagos schoolgirl 14 disappears after outing with her boyfriend. 13 prison inmates matriculate. Ango Abdullahi meets Obasanjo over 2019 polls and killings. Remember Ango Abdullahi, right? The controversial French president to meet Buhari and visit Africa Shrine. Vehicular defects, human errors caused tanker fire, says Lagos State government. Obasanjo remains my leader, says Bode George. Politics, no permanent enemies,
No permanent
friends. I mean, when you hear this kind of stories, just wonder, Goodness me.
Interest.
Okay, let's talk about the human interest. The woman, the young girl, 14 years. Who has that story?
Yes, I have the story. So Wahiz, a motor boy of about 20 years, took his girlfriend, a 14-year-old girl, on a bike out, and the girl was missing. The mother was out of town when that happened. So when she got back, she raised a search party for the child. They didn't see her. They picked up the boy, who denied that he actually took her. First of all, he said that he didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't know where she was, but later came out to say that he took her and then sent her back when the mother was calling to complain that she was looking for her. But probably she must have gone to see another of the boyfriend, and, you know, so the police is still
So they're still searching for the girl.
The police gave him a 7-day ultimatum to bring out the girl, after which he started talking about her having another boyfriend. But she was last seen with him, and he said he put her on the bike back home. So we're hoping that
let's move on to Daily Sun very quickly. 2019 polls, new PDP weighs options, may resume talks with APC as members move to take final decision. French president visits Nigeria to commission Alliance Française facility. Atiku consults IBB on 2019 presidency. Interesting. Soyinka unveils Obasanjo's misdeeds tomorrow. Fuel explosion, Lagos restricts tankers movement. Let's talk about this. The fuel explosion on Thursday, yes.
So following the explosion that we suffered on Thursday.
But that was a picture of, that was a picture of the Jakonde estate taken over by flood after hours of downpour winds yesterday.
From Friday to
That's what we were saying. That's what we were saying about the rain.
I was talking about the cool weather. But let's talk about
it's an abroad mentality.
Yes.
Explosion, please.
So after what we suffered on Thursday, the Lagos State has read out the 30 days ultimatum to all tanker drivers to get their roadworthiness certificates before coming to Lagos.
30 days. They give them 30 days.
They are to utilize all the offices for roadworthiness within the metropolis, but they will open new ones along the road, along the Lagos-Ibadan, to assist them to quickly get this certificate. Then they are restricted now to the Apapa Oworoshoki Gbagada Ogudu Expressway, which I usually come through in the morning. For now, that's what the new
And they found out that the truck that caught fire was actually supposed to be a rigging
and a 15 tons truck, but they expanded it to a 30 tons. Nobody understood. So this was an accident waiting to happen. 13 different
owners. So they're trying to trace who the actual owner is right now.
Registered in Kano. So the facts that they have is that it was registered in Kano. It's changed hand 13 times between. So it's been sold.
I'm happy that Lagos State government is taking up this really seriously.
For me, this is a manslaughter case. The parties involved are the tanker owners, the person who approved the truck to leave the port, the depot, everybody involved in the chain of actions that led to this should already be arrested and be questioning. Questioning should have started for them for now, because whether we like it or not, the people who have survived this accident are still at the Bagada hospital. I heard in the news on TVC News Nigeria that they are paying 25,000 daily for treatment.
Lagos State is taking that.
I expected that, even without Lagos doing anything, the federal government should be on this. NNPC, whoever should have given a directive to the hospital that they should be treated for free. But the family members were heard saying that, that they are suffering, they are in pain, they are paying this amount of money, X amount of money. So there should be an action against these people. Someone should prosecute. When there are consequences, we can curtail this if there are consequences.
Exactly.
If we have precedent that somebody has paid.
So we appreciate what Lagos State government has done, but we need names. We need actual prosecution. So they should go a step further.
What Lagos State is now saying that within 30 days, this is not a new law.
Right.
You should have roadworthiness. Exactly. So now the fact that we're enforced, and I'm sure as you guys see on the road, you see trailers all the time. The one tire is quick.
Yes, now your
license plate. Yes, of the young boy with trying to stop leakage and moving. So, and I'm sure they've passed police officers, but when there's no enforcement, to your point, people just continue.
Let's move on now to Vanguard. Killings, Niger Delta militants give federal government 21-day ultimatum. I can make Shekau 137 insurgents surrender, says ex-Boko Haram commander. Governors using FAC standoff as excuse not to pay salaries, says NNPC. 5.4 trillion debt. AMCON talks tough. Vows to seize debtors' assets. Waiver scam. Reps committee threatened to issue bench warrant on 26 firms. And still clear of Taraba Delta. PDP wants Oshomole So let's talk about the Niger Delta militants giving 21-day ultimatum. Who has that story?
Okay, I have the story. So they've given the government 21-day notice because of the killings, especially the Plateau herdsmen killings. And also the Secretary of the Miyetti Allah came out to warn that anybody who auctions the cows and cattle.
It warned Benue and Taraba state government from auctioning the cows that they've arrested.
Yes.
So,
the people were the...
who was planning on auctioning?
Well, I don't understand that. Benue and Taraba states have arrested certain cows
as part of their laws
against grazing. So the usual practice, I don't know whether the practice is to auction them, but Miyetti Allah has come out to say their own cows belonging to their members should not be auctioned.
So the militants are saying that the government has to devolve powers to states and regions so that they can be able to protect them.
Can we link that up to the Miyetti Allah saying that, remember the Premium Times report that was saying that they were taking back
following the Plateau killings, there was a report that Shiroma, the spokesperson for Miyetti Allah, came out to say it was retaliatory, completely almost taking credit for the actions for the killings. But Premium Times have come out with an apology saying that they quoted him out of, they didn't verify their source, that their reporter quoted it from a WhatsApp group and all that. And because bad news never leaves, it seems not to be ending. Because based on this is why the 21-day ultimatum is coming from the Niger Delta militants now.
Right. But let's just clarify that, because Premium Times reporter took the story from a WhatsApp group that a Nation reporter said that they spoke to Chiroma. So the difference now is that they said they spoke to Chiroma. Chiroma is saying he didn't issue a statement. And Miyetti Allah's overall spokesperson is saying that Chiroma said something that is probably his own opinion, but he didn't speak for us.
Gotcha.
But Premium Times is taking responsibility because their own internal process of verifying reports, they didn't follow that. And that's why they're doing that.
Okay, moving on now to New Telegraph. New PDP malls mass defection. World Cup, Nigerians stranded in Russia. Fans beg for money to survive. One-way ticket fans in dilemma. 5.4 trillion naira debt, AMCON to seize assets of debtors. All right, so Nigerian fans, some of them, interestingly, some of them bought their tickets for 800,000 naira just to get to be part of the fan ID. They got their fan ID ticket for 800,000 naira, and they plan to stay there. So they're just there loitering, hoping to cut a break.
No, but let me ask a question. When you buy tickets, you're supposed to have return as well.
Not necessarily.
It's not a return ticket. I don't know how they bought their ticket.
I don't understand.
It's supposed
That's
to be a return ticket.
Right?
It's for World Cup.
Well, I'm surprised they were allowed in.
Maybe because they went under the fan ID. So they were like Nigerian fans. Some of them now have stuck themselves in Russia. They
just blend into other countries.
And what Russia did was that your ticket, if you had a ticket to the game, that served as your visa. So you didn't have to go through a visa application. So maybe that's why the one-way or the round-trip ticket wasn't.
But our people, maybe they want to just blend.
They don't want to
and disappear.
Russia is the new Canada.
Really
whatever the plans are, they should come home.
Anyways, let's move on very quickly to The Guardian. Pressure mounts on Buhari to sack security chiefs. Quadrant analysis as a tool for strategic decision-making. Banks get ordered to officially report cyber incidents. So there's so much pressure on our president to...
Yes, as expected. We also on this couch have called that, there should be a major reshuffle of all security chiefs. In fact, not reshuffle, sack, complete total change of the security chiefs, because they've been so far ineffective, starting from the Benue killings now to the Plateau killings. We cannot wait to have the Edo killings before something happens. So they should please just, get them out. They are not working.
They're saying that there's some kind of a loyalty, that our president has some kind of loyalty to his security chiefs, and he needs to somewhat be more objective.
Someone can easily reach that conclusion, owing to the fact that, with all this that has been happening, nothing has happened.
No
Someone should be paying, no action taken.
There's always we plan to.
And now we're how many months to the end of this term?
He's still planning to.
Nigerian Tribune 2019, INEC probes attempt to clone PVCs and sell online. As Lagos releases reports on Tedola Bridge, ill-fated tanker originally designed as a drilling rig. French President Macron visits Fela Shrine tomorrow. Article in a 3-hour visit to IBB. Don't share the $322 million Abacha loot among households. And Miyetti Allah prefers solution to farmers and herders' clashes. Says we don't believe in reprisals. And our picture here of our president having a conversation with Mrs. Dr. Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I hope that's a good conversation because I would really like to have her.
That was during the AU.
Yes, sorry.
That should be during the AU summit holding over the weekend at Mauritius, or what's the country called? Mauritius.
Okonjo-Iweala should please come into this administration. Maybe if she enters the administration, many of us now vote for this party because we just need...
But there was really nothing she said then that is not happening now. She warned us about this happening now that will happen.
We need people like her,
We're spending, we're not saving, we're borrowing to pay salaries.
She's too much in the abroad.
Today.
She needs to come
And we're still
home.
doing that today. NMPC,
Yeah,
I mean, that's what the meeting with...
She had promised that this hardship would come if we
And I hear she has a book. I want to go and read that book.
Yeah,
You read that book?
I haven't read it,
I
but
heard
that's
that it's pretty,
expensive.
really informative. All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we discuss, do we need community policing now? And later, we have a governorship aspirant in the studio. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, former Inspector General of Police, Mr. Suleiman Abba, said that for Nigeria to drastically reduce crime and terrorist activities, she urgently needs to encourage more community policing. He further stated that Nigeria does not need foreign intervention to be able to reduce crime in her communities, but to promote more of community policing. Now, what are your thoughts on this? You can join the conversation 070-80668014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Also, interestingly, in today's papers, the Deputy Senate President, Ikiri Madu, also was talking, I think he traveled out the country and he was saying that he was going to try to push a bill to decentralize policing in Nigeria because he feels that the only way we can curb the current happenings on security in Nigeria is if we have community policing. But there's been, on the other side, there's been a flip side. There's this fear of if you do that, it's giving too much power to regions and states. What are your views on this?
It's the lip service that annoys me. So Ikiri Madu is outside the country and buttressing a point that is obvious in our face. When the bill for devolution of powers failed at the National Assembly, that's the problem.
In his very before.
In his very before. And we did not hear he was arguing for this. So that's the problem for me. We know that with the example of the civilian JTF, the success that we enjoyed, and you know, with Lagos, for instance, we've not had all those waterside crimes that we had with Festac and Ikorodu at the time, because now there's partnership between what's the new name in Lagos now? Neighborhood Watch and all that happening. So we've seen it. We've seen that it's a success.
Effective.
It's a working model, and we should have by now have it put into laws. We've had this 8th Assembly had the opportunity to amend the Constitution this year, and we did not get devolution.
But the other argument of it gives too much excessive powers to states and regions where, you know, they have the kind of control they have. You know, right now, the federal government is controlling the police, so there's still some kind of interdependence between us and the federal government. Now, once you give that power to the police, to the state, let me come to Yemi here.
No, I was just going to say that that's starting point. So if state policing, which is one aspect of it, will basically take the federal structure that you are talking about and make it statewide. But community police, which is what she's more referencing to, it puts a layer of accountability. And so Lagos State is a hybrid. They're not fully community policing yet. They're more sort of trying to be state police-like.
There's the difference.
Yeah.
It helps us understand.
Exactly.
I want our viewers to understand the difference.
So community police has a layer of accountability that the police structure works with the community. So we actually have a meeting where we say, okay, what are the policing needs for this community?
Right.
Where should we focus areas? Where should we deploy people?
Right.
And so there's communication. So we can tell you, okay, this is working. And then we are able to check and say, okay, you're doing your work, and we can communicate clearly.
Right.
So the police is accountable to that particular community, not the IG of the state in Alausa, but to the one in my community. So that's where the conversation happens.
Gotcha.
But you can have just state police where it's just taking the federal structure, putting it in the state operationally, and that doesn't necessarily include the input of the community members.
For me, I support the state policing because it's worked in countries like the US. This actually started, the practice and the concept started in 1970 in the US. And over time, it's been evolving and evolving and evolving, and it's working. And it's more like a community where I know everybody in my area, and a new person comes up, I know this is a new person, this is a face I'm not supposed to say. So you are able to familiarize with your police, you know, people who are protecting you, and you can tell these are some of the things that we have noticed about this person. We need to check what this person is doing and all of that. So it brings that closure between the people and the police.
Going by the difference in the definition of the community policing, why is this difficult for states, other states? I mean, I know Lagos is trying to, but other states haven't been able to implement that community policing. But let me take this call first for Olumide. Olumide, are you there? Olumide?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
We can hear you very clearly. Go ahead, please. We lost that call.
So for me, I understand this when I think of what Autumn was saying when he got to that point when he felt so helpless and said to his people that defend yourself even with stones, and people thought he was stupid. Now, Lagos is one state that has funds. We know.
They have a security trust fund.
They have a security trust fund started by the past governor. So they have a lot of things working for them. But these states with new emerging issues don't know what to do. If the law had, for instance, empowered the state to be in charge of security, which I think a state should be by now, following what we have across board, if Ekiti didn't take grazing into its hands, they probably will have the situation that they have in Plateau now in Ekiti. Okay. So if Autumn had security under his control, probably things will be better. Now you have your community.
You can't no. Autumn has security on his country. He's the chief security officer. He gets his own security force. No, let's not exonerate Autumn from this whole situation.
Not exonerate, yes, but the governor of Bauchi says he's removing chief security officer from his title as governor of the state because he doesn't control the security forces. The commissioner of police in any state takes instructions from the IG of police. The governor cannot instruct the commissioner of police in any state to do anything. Exactly. So I agree with you that the governor still has a responsibility in managing that relationship. So in that regard, you have a responsibility.
So what would you say the Lagos state government has? I know, let's not compare the money they have, but imagine the security funds that they get in this state, in Bauchi and other states. How can you use those funds to support what the IG or the Inspector General, the Commissioner of Police is doing in your state? What have you done to show?
So my point is that no, Lagos State can do that. Honestly, because Lagos State supports the structure financially. Yes. The budgeting for the police is really quite poor. I think each station maybe gets 10,000 naira per month or 20, something quite small. So if you are in a state where the government of the state can say, let's come along with you and help you with cars, help you with resources, then the ability to listen is a bit more relaxed. Right. Versus the state where the state governor is not offering you anything.
I don't even think it's about funds. I think it's about knowing what you want to do. Are we going this direction? Then we can, you know, channel, because there are some states that you think they don't have money, but I go around and I see them in the local government. They share money. They come there and they share money. So where is the money coming from?
For community policing itself, obviously needs money. Community policing, you need funds to push that also.
They're sharing the money for different things.
At this point, you are working with the community. So the Oba or the Bale of this place can say, okay, this is what we are going to support these people.
Let me take this call. Morning, are you there? Thanks for calling. You do?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this state police.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I don't support the state police.
Okay.
I prefer federal government to put more importance to the police. Because this state police now, corruption is going to cause again.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this state police is to give us another more corruption.
Right.
Yeah, that's my own suggestion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Even there's corruption, it's not better to manage than...
Does the whole believe that since we know it's likely to start corruption, can we stem it by creating the law? So you put the law in place and you put what will stop that corruption from happening.
In place.
So you put a proper system in place. Because the truth is, if we had community policing, every state will guard its borders. You will protect your citizens. People won't come in and you say, okay, we've redeployed about 14,000 of them to the Eagle Square for a convention. Right. You won't have that excuse. Right. And every governor of a state now just comes and absorbs itself that, okay, I don't have control of security in my state.
Little thing, no, I wouldn't say little. That's not a good word to use. Other domestic things like rape, violence amongst people, where you don't feel protected. The police are there trying to curb crime in other business, and you are coming with your rape case. I'm wondering, please, I beg, madam. But if you have community policing, you have some kind of connection with the law enforcement to help you to at least get some kind of justice on that. I think we have a call. Okay, we don't have a call.
Okay, so for me, the reason for community policing is preventive, more like trying to stop the crime and not just waiting after the crime is committed, then you are responding back. So now if you have community policing, the people manning a particular area already know the people in that area. They know the area. They know the area.
The reason why we've discussed this is because it's hot, and the Deputy Senate President has said that when he returns, he's going to push a bill. So let us monitor this bill and see the outcome, because also the conversation concerning restructuring is also ongoing, and pillar is also tied to this decentralizing of police. So let us see how it pans out. But both arguments are coming up on why do we need and why we don't need. Anyway, let's go on a break. We come back. Joining us is yet another aspirant. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Joining us on the show is an international businessman, rated by the influential financial magazine Forbes in 2014, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Costain West Africa PLC. He's also aspiring to be the Governor of Oyo State. Welcome, Mr. Ayodeji Karim. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You can join us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTV so we can read your tweets. Now, you know that Your View is supporting every young person out there who's running for office. We want to give them a platform to show them, because the idea is, they're too young to run. So we're as many aspirants as possible. We're inviting them just to hear your views and your thoughts. Before we get into your political ambition, we heard there was a rift between you and your brother concerning this issue of governorship. Have you guys sorted it out, or is there still going to be? Are we going to see a competition between siblings fighting for that same position? Have you guys resolved that issue?
There was no issue at all. The report was unfounded. Okay. There's not a time myself and my brother had an issue. Okay. My brother is not a politician. I am. All right. And I am the one, putting myself forward to express I've shown my expression of interest. Right. I've shown, your state governorship. So
you've been obviously endorsed by the current governor, Ajimobi. Somewhat, we know he's your friends, and he's like a brother to you, obviously. And in your view, I don't want you to rate his own administration, but what he's done. But what is it about his own work that you plan to develop on, or you work on? What have you seen when he's done, and what do you plan to build on? Or do you feel he hasn't done anything at all?
If we were to do a comparative analysis, Governor Ajimobi, in comparison to his predecessors, he has done fantastically well in terms of putting structures in place, in terms of infrastructure, agribusiness, education, etc. For me personally, the way I see it is that we need someone to take over and take it to an exponential level. And I see myself doing that. Okay,
so you have a 6-point agenda for this.
That's correct.
Infrastructure, sports, health, agriculture, power, and education.
Yes.
Coming from the state of artisans, how do you plan to, because I would expect that you'd restructure the education system to accommodate entrepreneurship. So how do you plan to do this with the LRO, the mentality of bricklayer,
organizer?
How do you plan to do?
Don't forget, Oyo State is not necessary. Oyo State is it's a major education state. Yes. It's a lot of universities, higher institutions, etc. So on one side is there's higher education, and on one side there's a lot of artisans. So, in order to capture that, as far as I'm concerned, what I think we should do is lay a lot of emphasis on training. But that training has to be tied onto some of the higher institutions so we can have certification. For me, I think Oyo State should be, if you haven't gone to Oyo State to study or to learn, to educate yourself, you haven't been anywhere in Nigeria. And that's where we're planning to go with our programs.
So you have your I-Shape initiative that you plan to carry out when you get into office. Now, we've had politicians with a lot of good manifestos, and then they get into the office and they, they claim that they don't have the opportunity to actually actualize what they've told us. So how do we hold you accountable with all these plans that you've made?
One of the things, let's talk about numbers. It's okay for us to have all these fancy ideas, but obviously you have to have the resources and the funding available. In your state, for example, our budget in a year is around about 208 billion, which gives us about 16 billion a month. And if you look at the spending on a monthly basis, salaries of civil service and public servants, it's about 6 billion out of that. You have recurring expenditure on previous loans of about 1.8 billion. So it leaves us with 8.2 billion, for example. 8.2 billion is available to look after healthcare, agriculture, infrastructure, all these things. Obviously, you know where we're sitting. There's a mismatch there. So first things first, we need to beef up the revenue revenue generation by attracting investment into the system first. Then let me compare that to Lagos, for example, has a budget of around about 1.2 trillion. So your state is still at 1/6 of that. So for us to achieve what we need to achieve, we need to be running around about 400 billion budget a year. So that is the first point of call. We need to sit down, have an economic team that will be able to beef up that side. It's not about generating internally. There's no way. Like you said, we're a lot of artisans and butchers and stuff. There's no way we'll be able to generate the sort of revenue that's required. It needs to come from outside.
Okay. I wanted to follow up on your predecessor got very famous for the comment about being constituted authority. Yes. So I wanted your thoughts on what would be your ethos if you do become the governor in terms of relating with citizens and being accountable to the citizens you govern.
One of my training in the army is when you do command tasks is you have to be accessible to your troops. You have to be accessible to people. We have an open door policy where we would have interaction with the communities, with the people. When you look at your predecessor and you look at things that he has done, and you say, I will do this slightly different. There's a lot of things I would do different. What I mean by that is we would have a session, maybe once a month, where we can answer questions. People can phone in, or radio programs where people can phone in. We'll be open to people. You have to respect the people, respect the environment, if you do those things properly.
Talking about respecting the environment, because we get lots of technocrats, businessmen who are enlightened, exposed, and say, you know what, they want to come back home to change things. And we've seen the formats of the Fayemi, former Governor Fayemi and Fayoshi. We saw their strategies, how one came in and was trying to do so many lofty plans, and people were like, sorry, slow down, bro. And the next governor came and this is a different strategy and was able to get that connection with the people. Now, with you being a businessman, internationally acclaimed, how would you connect with the bricklayer in your state to vote for you?
We're already doing that. I mean, I'm a man of the people. I'm on the ground on a daily basis. I speak English and I speak Yoruba very well, so I communicate in both languages, whichever. Like I said, I'm very accessible. I don't have the issue of rolling my sleeves, wearing my khaki and just going into the market. One of the key things is that before we start telling everybody I-shape, the first thing we do, which is different, is that what are the issues, what are the challenges, what do you need? It's okay for us to have this global plan. If it doesn't fit into the local agenda, then it makes no sense. Yeah. So we need to strike a balance somewhere.
Go back to my artisan questions, because you see, I'm reading through your profile, you're also a farmer.
Yes.
And one of the major problems that we have between artisans and, maybe educated people is that dignity of labor that, that is missing. I would like to see the yes or yes plan happen in Oyo, for instance, where you have a way of merging these people and giving them quality for or what you think they are worth. How do you plan to do this? I don't just want to hear we'll do. How exactly? Okay. How is it going to plan out?
Okay, remember at the beginning of when you asked me, I said one of the first things, we need to merge the higher institutions with the training programs.
Yes.
First of all. So that brings dignity back to those trades.
Okay.
So
certification.
That certification.
Yes, that's number one.
Takes care of that.
First, it takes care of. Then secondly, when you're delivering a process, right? The people, the training program itself brings dignity back. We want to be known for supplying the rest of the country these skills that's readily available in your state. We don't need to bring the thing. So if you're thinking artisans, you're thinking butchers, you're thinking drivers, Look at Oyo State.
So you just got to where I was going.
Yes.
Supplying.
Yes.
So do you, after the training, do you now plan to put together something to market them, get them to do their jobs, you know, maybe with an arrangement
with the
government?
That's the general plan. In part of your training program, part of the things that we're already marketing on behalf of these skills to other parts of the country, other parts of Africa, where these skills is certified by a proper university or higher institution, and we know they're properly trained, they're well cultured. All we need, I think part of our micro targets that if you're between the ages of 17 and 23, all you need to do is be able to read and write. The rest we will train you.
But do you find, to talk about, there's a young people and working.
Yes.
So there's, I think we mentioned this earlier about wanting to hammer people, the lure for quick money now. Yeah. The things that you're talking about is hard work.
It is.
So artisanship is really hard work. So to be marketable not only in Nigeria or in the sub-region, takes people who are dedicated and that's what they want to do. It's not a stopgap until I. Yes. How are you planning? And for me, I think that's it's a mind issue.
Is.
How do you plan? It's not just providing certification.
You see, one of the first things is that people like myself, I call myself a farmer. Someone like myself with my background, I have to make it look funky, first of all. So to attract the people. Secondly, the remuneration that's required at the end of it also has to be an attraction for people wanting to do it. So those are the kind of ways in which we're planning to achieve it.
Okay. I was going to, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I know that the universities are not really very practical. Now you want to professionalize the vocations.
Correct.
Don't you think you should be looking into getting experts who, like in other countries outside, we have these vocations that are professionalized. So you get experts in to train them.
Let me let you answer that question
on the universities.
I'll let you answer that right after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Right before the break, you're talking about asked a question concerning experts.
Yes.
Do you plan to bring in experts to train?
We would bring in support.
Okay.
That's the word I would use. We'll bring in support to augment the existing skills that's already available, the teaching skills or the training skills that's available. The idea of bringing, offloading experts into Nigeria, I don't think we need a whole, a bunch.
Right.
We just need the necessary requirement to augment what is existing.
Okay, let me ask this question I was going to ask earlier. We've seen in other climes that, yes, there's so many issues on ground, but sometimes when a leader is trying to be radical, take a radical route to change things, they pick one item almost at a time. Okay, this is where our focus is. Either we focus on education, we focus on health, we focus on, there's got to be a vision. In your view, your state as it is right now, what's that? I mean, you've mentioned the issue of training, skills. What is that one thing, or you feel that you're going to drive, or you're going to do it simultaneously? What is that key thing that you feel you're going to push for your
Oyo State is a typical agri-state.
Agri-state, okay.
And there's no reason why Oyo State cannot be the food basket of the nation. So, yes.
Anyway, we'll fight you.
Still have land.
Well, you can say that. If I'll give you from statistics. Oyo State has the largest, most arable land in the western region.
Wow.
And it's like we're sitting on a gold mine. But we're not harnessing it. So one of the things we should do is focus a lot of energy on that. And we need to industrialize scale. That's all there is to it. We have to industrialize.
Right.
Well, you make these things sound very simple. I would say as you plan, what are the things that you foresee might be challenges?
The challenges will be resource management, people management.
Okay.
The skills are not necessarily available.
Right.
So there has to be emphasis on training, and there has to be an enabling environment for that to thrive. And also there has to be a legal framework for it to also thrive.
Yes.
You remember the financial structure to support it is also very important. So the professionals will sit on the table.
So let's put years to it. So let's assume that you have a 4-year tenure, and in 4 years or 3 years, you will put all this paperwork together, so the legal framework, the training and all that, before you can start to see it materialize. Is that what you're saying?
Farming, if you want to focus on crop or animal husbandry, for example, my passion is animal, four-legged animal. I'm a cow farmer. I don't do crops at all. And for me, I see a huge opportunity for us here. And if you look at one of the issues that you were discussing earlier regarding the Fulani headsmen, I don't think it's just security issue. Something we're missing is, it's a predominant socio-economic issue. I'll give you an example. If you look at the totality of the country, protein to human ratio, we're supposed to consume on average about 8 million cows a year. Currently, we're consuming about 4 million. And 75% of that 4 million comes from other parts of the country. Let's start. 50% of that 4 million comes from across the border, outside the country. And the other 50% is produced within the country. And if we localize it, the Western region consumes about 65% of total production. So there's a market in this part. So when they're migrating from the north, and somebody with the emphasis to go into agri-business, development is coming. And these grazing routes are being blocked. So when the animals are trekked from the north to south, and it's blocked, it causes issue. We all know what it is. Because the market is available here, the migration will continue. But if you're producing in Ijebu, I produce in Ibadan, you do in Lagos, we can reduce that by 50%.
Right. Okay, let me take this call from Abdul. Abdul, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Mr. Ayodeji, first I'm impressed. We want young people like you to, to step up. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. First, let me congratulate Mr. Ayo for stepping up, to the challenge. It's not enough for people to sign, for government to sign not too young to run. But do the people have the capacity, to actually run? And as a matter of fact, young people in this country have been subjected to so much, I would say, they've been put in a position where they don't even believe in themselves to run. These politicians have created an entry barrier that, most young people are, because I've been involved in certain movements where we want to encourage young people to put themselves forward. And a lot of them are reluctant. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, Mr. Iwajiro, at least I can call you that now before you become your excellency. Yeah, training people to low skilled
Abdul, we're running out of time. Please, could you let's get the question, please?
Okay. Now, my question is: it's not enough to train to have skilled people in the economy.
Right.
You need, if you train people and people cannot afford them, how do you balance that?
Afford, okay.
If you train people and people can't afford them anymore, so the business side of it, they now price themselves.
No, as I said, I mean, you mentioned something earlier. When a government starts, do you focus on all your programs, or you take one?
Right.
For us, Oyo State is a typical agri-state. So the focus is to feed people. So once we channel our resources and energy into that, the first lot of training will be channeled and focused on that.
We'll take some tweets now.
I have one tweet here. Ademola Alalade says, please ask your guest what sort of people will he be working with when he assumes office. Is he supporting any other young professionals aspiring for office, House of Reps, House of Assembly?
Yeah, they are
the ones that actually make the
law. Let me add to that, because there are lots of PEMSECs, there are a lot of people that have been in the system, that are almost civil service. They've almost been like I don't want to use the word
engine room.
Yeah. So how do you intend to
work with them?
That's a nice thing.
Okay, nice. Teamwork. One of the key things is teamwork. You have existing skills that's available. You have to look inwards before you start looking outside. Okay. Once you look inwards and you identify the key skills to fill, you have to put the right pegs in the right holes, first of all. Before you start bringing resources from outside, you have to look inwards. So those PAMSECs who are the engine room, the directors who are the engine room, what you need to do, reassess the situation. Whoever needs augmented training, give it to them. Let them, remember, they've been in the system for 30 years. They know the people.
They're corrupt too. Some of them are corrupt.
We'll deal with the issue of corruption. The issue of corruption is about process. Okay. When you put a process in place, checks and balances, technology is available now for us.
We have to run up. Stomach infrastructure is almost very, very rough in this side of town.
Yes.
How do you intend? Because all these lofty plans are great, but the man who say stomach
food,
give me food first.
Food. I'll give you an example. I went to do a short stop in Ogbomoso. And in my travel, what I found is I went into the market on environmental morning, and I decided I was going to talk to Yaloja and all these things. I haven't spoken to all of them, I decided I wanted to address the whole market. And to my surprise, half of the people, about 1,000 people, half of them had a plate in their hand. So I said to my assistant, why do they have plates? He said, maybe on water. Everyone's hungry. So, and I find in big cities, in Lagos, I think it's a bit, but once you go up country, the conditions are completely different. Like you rightly said. So stomach
infrastructure is an important part
of
your
campaign. Number one. It's number one. It's on top. You people, no, not necessarily to get food. We don't plan to start feeding.
To share Indomie and other stuff.
Well, people are hungry.
So you have to share Indomie.
They have to be fed.
But I guess the ultimate thing is tying people being hungry to how they then don't depend on you to feed them on a regular basis and making that part of your communication.
What I say to people, 3 things. I said, if you're going to vote in the future, vote for credibility, vote for people who are honest from a good background, but do not vote for someone who will give you a piece of sliced bread and take away your bakery. Simple.
Okay, all right, I think we can round up on that. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Wish you the best in the upcoming campaign.
Thank you very much.
As we said, your view, because your views of our objective is to show people their options. Yeah. Don't go to 2019 saying there are no options. There are options. So you will see options. Young people from different parties across board. If you're any young person running for any office, please let us know. We'll bring them on to at least showcase them, because we want people to go in 2019 with your PVC with options. Yes. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.